Hello, hello. Looks like we're live. And I see us. Give me a quick sound check, please.
Hey, Sam. Sound checking.
All right. Yeah, I think I hear you. We should be all set here. All right. Let me make sure. Okay. All right, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from, and thank you for being here at Coded Live. Let me change the music a little bit, pull it back. All right, so welcome to the channel. As you know, this is a channel where we stream about a bunch of things throughout the week. Today's Monday, so happy new week. We are starting off with CMS and podcast recordings on Monday. We do Unity on Tuesday. Actually, tomorrow is going to be a 2-hour Unity stream. We do React and UI on Wednesdays. Thursdays, I have a Microsoft person join me for some Xamarin and XAML stuff. Fridays is a chat show. So come and join us whenever your time permits. My name is Sam Basu. I'm a dev advocate here at Progress Software, and with me I have my good friend Jonathan Reed. So please introduce yourself.
Hey, Sam. It's still me, Jonathan Reed, on this wonderful Sitefinity Monday. Solutions engineer with Sitefinity, so still rocking it.
Very cool. All right, so this is our Monday, so we are going to dive into CMS. We're going to dive into Sitefinity and try to bring, I was trying to write up a description of what we do here on Mondays for some other folks, and we really are trying to create like a globally deployed website for a restaurant chain and really not take any shortcuts doing so. So I'm excited where we go. But before we start, I have a couple of things to show you, if I can, and if technology is going to cooperate with us. So let me see if I can do this. It works, but it's too small. Okay, I was trying to get some flying heart signs and other things going, but I can work on that. And then I have a small surprise for you. So Jonathan has been joining me each Monday to do this CMS stream for guess how many weeks now? This is actually the 6th week. So,
6, wow.
Yeah, so we've been at this for about a month and a half, a little more than that. And we started with absolutely nothing, right? Just a plain design that you took, and you wanted to bring that to life. And we are probably quite a way, there's a lot more to do, but we have also made quite a bit of progress. So if you are catching up, if you are just new to the stream, if you just want to see like where things started and how did we get to where we are, Jonathan, our good friend Ivana, who works with us, she has been scrubbing up all of these videos and putting them up on YouTube, but it's been hard to find. So a big shout out to her. She actually created playlists for all of the streams that we do throughout the week. So I'm going to drop a link here in the chat room. So if you are new and if you just want to catch up and see what we did for the last like 6 weeks and where things are and how did we get here, if you just want to catch up, that's all the videos that we have done. So if you are just wanting to see like, is a CMS a good option for me? Why should I look at Sitefinity? How do I do custom modules? How do I do this and that? It's all there, and it's all there up on YouTube, so you can bookmark it and learn as we go along. So big shout out to Ivana, and
absolutely,
yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, appreciate it for sure. But yeah, I mean, we're going to continue this going. I mean, I guess until somebody tells us to stop, Sam, or people get bored, I suppose. But actually, I think you and I have been kicking around some additional ideas. So I think at the end of the month, end of next month, so August, we're looking at doing really a live type of Q&A session. So stay tuned for those dates. We don't have a solid date on the calendar yet, but the idea would be that you guys could all log in here and really just do a live coding session, whether it's to answer specific questions on how you do something, or you want to know what the best practices are for this or that. We're going to be able to take care of all of those. So keep in tuned, in the next few weeks. We'll have more details about when that's coming and how to interact with it.
Indeed. All right. So where did we stop last week?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, because that's a good question. So last week we were actually building a custom widget. And this custom widget, actually, let me get my designs here. I think I already got them here. This custom widget is really to help facilitate finding the closest location to the user. So we created 2 weeks ago, I think we created a custom content type with the module builder. And it was called locations, so that we could, create locations, restaurant locations to store in the system. But aside from that, we needed this widget up here in the top right to alert the user what the nearest location was, or present them a message maybe to find the location if we couldn't, approximate their location or what have you. So we've been working on that widget. So last week and between the weeks before, we created a couple things. We created a separate class library. This class library will store all of our logic and models around this specific functionality. And this specific functionality is really the custom widget. So in our MVC folder, we have our models, views, and controllers, as well as some JavaScript and some other components to do. We've also created a custom design screen, so we have some designer views here as well. These designer views allow you to configure how the widget or how the user interacts with the widget. So actually, let's do a visual on that one, Sam. So as we go, we're going to put this one on the page template. So we're going to go back to our base page template, Coriander Lane base here. And we're going to just drag and drop that custom widget to the location in our header that we've already predefined an area for. We just need to drag and drop that widget. We registered it in our Coriander Lane area here, and it's called closest location, and we can drop it in there. The custom designer views that we have allows the user to select a specific page for where the details should reside for this content item, or maybe even where the location finder page is. So maybe the location finder is on locations, and the detail page, we can either set a specific one, or we can let it resolve to whatever the system default is, and that's what we're going to use in this example, and I'll show you how all that code works behind the scenes. So we'll save that off, and it's not going to do anything right now because we haven't done anything in our view portion of it, which is where we're really going to start today. And the view portion of it is going to interact with a custom web service or API controller that we're going to create today, or I've actually put the groundworks in place. We'll review it and look at how all that's set up. So actually, let me publish this so it's ready for us. And then we can I think we can jump right into work, right? You got any questions, though, so far, Sam? I mean,
No,
that was a pretty good recap.
Yeah. And let me try this thing one more time. Like, if people want to show their emotions, I think I have it down right. Oh, no, that didn't work at all. Okay, hang on. One more time in the chat. And... there you go. So it is sort of working. So if you do fun stuff and things work, we can toss around some emotions just to give us a little bit of fun. There you go.
Oh, there it is. I see it. Oh,
yeah, float around.
Awesome.
Cool. All right.
Awesome. Yeah, show us how you're feeling.
Yeah.
All right, appreciate it. All right, so all we've done so far, Sam, again, is we've placed that custom widget that we've been working on onto the page template. Again, if I refresh it in the UI, nothing's going to change, and well, let's assume nothing's going to change. So I'm just going to reload the home page here real quick, just to make sure nothing changed. Again, we don't. Oh, looks like we have an error, which may be expected, maybe not, but maybe this would give us a good opportunity to check the error logs and maybe see what's going on, huh? So let's see what the issue might be. So Sitefinity error logs. So this is my folder structure for the site. So we have our code live folder. Here we have 2 class library folders, but we're going to specifically go into the Sitefinity web app data, Sitefinity, logs. So here's where our error logs are going to do. Maybe we'll sort these by date. So here's the most recent one. We'll just open it up in Notepad or something similar. All right, so what does it say? So method not found. There's probably some code I tried to migrate over from something, and I'm just missing some pieces here. So let's keep going down here. All right. All right. So still method not found. Locations, MVC models, closest location dot get message. All right. So we'll have to go trace that down. See if we can figure out what the issue is. So we know it's in closest location model, so we can obviously go there. So not there. Okay, so I don't see anything specific here, so maybe take a look at something a little bit deeper here. Oh, okay. Maybe, let's see if we have, okay, nothing there. Let's go back to controller here. Just make sure we're not doing anything. All right, we're good there. Actually, you know what? To be honest with you, I'm not sure I built. So let's make sure we do that.
We are in better resolution today, but like bump up the fonts just like one point more.
Yep. There we go. That's my fault.
Please. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So I think what happened was I just hadn't built it after I made a few changes here. So let's double check. All right, so we built that. Let's just give this a quick reload here. Maybe that'll address the situation. And close that. I'll open up that error log in Notepad++ so we can know if something changes. So I just like to open it in Notepad++. That way, if something does change, it gives me that visual alert so I can see the difference. But all right, so we'll watch that here for a second. We'll give this another second to reload, make sure everything's all built. All right, so good there. All right, we still got an error.
Like, does it always like push the log entries at the top?
To the bottom.
To the bottom.
Yep. Yeah, so we'll take a look here. All right, closest mvc.models.closest location model.get message. I don't have a method called get message. All right, let's look a little bit deeper in here.
Do you want to undo some of the changes and see?
Well, then what will we learn, Sam?
That's true.
All right, well, let's do this instead. So 2 ways to debug in Sitefinity. I have the site hosted in IIS right now, so I can attach to the IIS worker process, or of course I can run it directly from here. But since that process is already running, I just usually prefer to attach to a process. So let's go debug, and then I almost never do it this way anymore. Control-Alt-P is my process, but attached to process. You do have to be running as administrator, and occasionally you do have to show processes from all users. We'll then look for the W's, so we want the W3WP process. We can attach to it, and then we can start debugging. So let's just step through it. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest with you, what's going on or where
let's find out
where it's failing here. So let's just see what's going on here. So.
And while we're doing this, folks in the chat room, if you find the music in the background to be a little too loud, please let me know. I'll pull it back.
All right, so we're hitting our first breakpoint here. Let's start stepping through. Nothing too exciting there. Okay, well, it didn't fail there. Huh. Interesting. It didn't fail where I expected it to fail.
And also, folks, just so you know, you are looking at Jonathan's desktop here. He's the one coding and teaching me. I don't know anything.
Yeah, so what we're doing right now is we're really trying to track down an error that I have here. Let's see if we get the same error here. Closest location index.
Could that get message be like a internal method call?
It's possible, yeah. Trying to read system.string, query underling.locations.npc models. Closest. We don't even have anything in our view at all, so I'm not sure why it would be. I suppose it could be failing in here. Okay, it seems to create the model fine. Huh. Well, that's a good way to start it out, huh, Sam?
Yeah, it's a reality. So what can you back out of?
Well, you know, that would assume I remember what I put in here. So let's look at let's see what I changed here.
Yeah.
So I added these two.
And I also had like one question. You said you're running on IIS and you attached to a process. Like, is there another way? Locally?
Yeah, you could just run it. You could run it directly out of Visual Studio with an F5 or a play up here if you wanted to. You can debug this way.
Oh, I see. So
I just happen to be already hosting it in
Got it.
IIS. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
No, good question. All right. I mean, neither one of these should affect what we've done there because they're not being called from there. So, and there's nothing here. Closest. Public strings, public. All right. Well, so let's do a couple other things here. Let's see if we can get. Okay. So it's the same error that persists. I suppose that's a good thing. Let's keep troubleshooting this. So index. It's like there's some.
It does look like an internal thing, though. Like something MVC or Sitefinity is trying to do.
So let's see. Move some of this stuff out of there.
Just so you know, folks, like this is professional software development. You see an error, you copy it and you paste it, and you look it up in Stack Overflow. That's what we do. Anybody who tells you like it's voodoo and we just like know the code that we are writing without ever looking anything up, yep, not true.
All right, one other. I suppose we could clean it just to make sure.
Do you need to maybe, what if like you just hit F5 from Visual Studio and just like started it up from scratch?
Yeah, we could try that. Let's let this finish and then see what's going on here. It's like it's failing on the model declaration or something. All right, well, let me try one more time like this, and then we'll go back. Oh, just another Monday, huh? I'm just double checking that oh no. Okay, cool. I'm just double checking to make sure I had some specific packages installed.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I could help you, but you know this stuff much better than I do.
All right, that's all right. This is the fun of the game.
Okay.
Oh, hang on a second. It is an embedded resource. Okay, let's try one other thing. Maybe pass an explicit name in here. Shouldn't make a difference. Oops, wrong way. Sorry. Index, then model. Okay, I'm just going to pass in a specific view name just to see difference, and then we'll go ahead and we'll run it right out of Visual Studio just to see.
Yeah. Folks who's joining us in the chat room, we are trying to build a website in CMS.
Trying.
Trying is the big word. No, I mean this is the real word. So
yeah, we're definitely
trying. Bringing in Sitefinity, and we're trying to build a globally distributed website for a restaurant chain. And we want to show different locations for the different restaurant branches and give them some autonomy in terms of how they want to show their stuff. Have some hero banners and images, have some details that each location puts in, and then the corporate chain gets to control the look and feel of the overall thing.
That's right. All right, so we're just restarting the site now, directly out of Visual Studio this time. So we can easily see, hopefully, what's going on, or catch an exception, or something.
Which one do you do more?
I mean, me personally, I think I typically host it in IIS myself and attach to the process, but I think that just came from that was the best way to do it many moons ago, and I haven't broken my habit since. So not sure. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter either way. I like to keep it in IIS, especially if I'm doing just a lot of front end work. That way, I can just have the site up and running, and then continue to do my front end work in Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code for that matter, and just have it there running. And if there is a problem that arises, I can then attach to it and figure it out from there. But I don't have to start it and stop it every time I want to make a CSS or a design change or something along those lines. So.
Right.
So for me, I personally do it. Okay, cool. Look, hey, we got rid of it there. I think what happened was I think it expected me to pass in the explicit name of the index. We should be able to reload it like this as well, and we'll see. We'll see if it behaves both ways. Okay, two things that happen right now. So one, since I launched another site under localhost, Sitefinity actually is now going to block localhost for HSTS purposes. So if you ever have this happen, where you run multiple Sitefinity sites and you get this message here, error connection refused, if you look at the details, it should look something about like this. There's a way to reset it in Chrome, so you can just go. So it's Chrome // Is that back or forward?
Okay, so forward. Say that one more time. HSTS? What does that mean?
HSTS. Yeah, I don't know, but it's really annoying. I forget exactly what it stands for. Somebody in the security world is probably smarter than me, but basically you have to delete your domain security policies here. So we just have to go localhost, delete.
So
for domain so we have a web security module that sends back with the request that it should be only requesting certain things from certain entries, and so basically since it's a different port, it's like, whoa, what are you trying to do here? We can't load it any longer. So
gotcha. All right, before we go on, hey, Sirax856, hello, good to see you. What are we doing today? We are struggling as we normally do as we code, which is the reality. Now, we are building a website with a CMS and some backend. We are trying to bring some custom design to life and make it functional, do some repeatable components as CMS modules, and go along. So that was interesting. So essentially, when you had the site running on IIS, like that's one entity of the site. So is it a security consideration that Chrome blocked, or?
Yeah, so it's part of the web security portion of Sitefinity. So yeah, we sent an additional request header that helps block it. So it's HTTP strict transport security. That's what HSTS is. So we'll learn together. Okay. I just forget the acronyms. So basically, there's additional headers that we send along with it to help protect the site. So we're going to protect you from things like CORS, XSS, SQL injection with our web security module. So that first request that happened with that different port. And then when I went to go load it under another one, it's like, whoa, what are you trying to do here, bud? You're trying to do something. Now that's interesting. Look, this behaves differently in each one. It's interesting. All right. Well, we'll see we'll play with it a little bit more and see what's going on here. Let me get some additional code in here and let me see if that can fix it. But yeah, anyway, if you ever run into that, the only other thing I forgot to mention to you is when you go to reload the site that you're trying to do, you got to request it first under HTTP, and then it'll. Yeah, we're just running a site under localhost. Yep. So. All right, let's pop back into Visual Studio here real quick, and let's just let me get some additional code in the front end here. Maybe get some adjustments made.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Sirax856 localhost is essentially running a site locally, like on your computer, before you have it deployed on a server.
Okay, so I'm just going to borrow some of this stuff here. All right, so we're just going to add a little bit of code into the view. And let's see. All right, cool. So this code here, a couple things. One, we're going to load up just a little bit of script here. Oh, I forgot the references. Oh, no, they're there. Why didn't they paste?
While you're
Yeah.
coding, I do feel obliged to roll back a little bit and explain what Sirax is asking here. So,
yeah, go ahead.
if you're new to web development, yes, you're right. Like, it's the same as like when you go to a website, it's being served up from a server, and the web content is normally a combination of. Hang on, let me pull back my music a little bit. So normal websites are a combination of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and all kinds of fun stuff. But if you are building a website and you don't have it deployed to a server, you can do it all locally. And yes, you can open up local HTML files, you can style it with CSS, and essentially if you have any business logic, any code that is running to render the page for your website, that code normally runs on the web server, but here it's just been hosted locally, so you can bring it up into something called localhost, which is essentially your site running locally as if it's on the server.
Nailed it. All right. So we're continuing, to work on the site locally. We have code that we're working on here, building. Looking to build again a closest location finder where we got a little bit of code that's gonna help us do that. So this is just a little bit of front end code. I borrowed it from somewhere else. We're gonna add a couple other things in here. We need a little bit some more file structure here. So let me switch some things around. So if anybody's worked with Sitefinity, you've maybe wanted to place things like JavaScript or CSS in an external class library. So let's talk about a little bit what that looks like. So we're going to create in this folder, in our Coriander Lane Locations class library, we're going to add a folder structure here to help us build out some JavaScript references that we can embed into this particular library. So we're going to create a folder called resources, and this is just going to hold some scripts and styles in it that we're going to be able to reuse. So let's add a new folder, and let's call it resources. Okay, spelled it right. In there, we're going to add two other folders. We're going to call it scripts and styles. So scripts, as it might sound, will hold scripts. And as the other one will sound like, it'll hold styles. All right. Within scripts, let's go ahead and drop in a little something here. So I have a JavaScript file here that I'm going to paste in. All right. So this JavaScript file in here, and I'm not going to get into all the depths of what's going on here, or all the JavaScript that we've written here. But long story short is this is an object that'll get utilized for finding the closest location to the user. And how does it do it? Well, a lot of things are going to happen. One, it's going to make an AJAX recall to locations API geolocator, get your closest location to the user. You don't know what that means but I'm going to tell you what it is here in just a second.
Yeah, I have a bunch of questions, but go on.
Yeah. So when that request is done, so we're just using standard jQuery here to make an AJAX call to a service that I set up, and I'll show you how that service is built. From there, we have a JavaScript template. It's called that we're going to use, and we're going to use Kendo, my friend. I think you know a little bit about that, huh, Sam?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to use a Kendo template in order to display what we get back from the server request to this particular URL. If it does find data, it's going to populate it. If it doesn't, it's going to do some other stuff, so on and so forth. There's some additional things that happen, like setting cookie information and some other stuff that we can review if need be. But let's first talk about the service and what it actually does. So behind the scenes, in MVC controllers, I actually placed an API controller. So this is a .NET Web API controller. This will allow me to return things like JSON or XML if I prefer. But in my case, I prefer to just build, some GET requests in this case to get back the user's closest location. So if we look at this JavaScript file, you'll see it's calling locations API geolocator get locations closest location to user. That's actually a method that we have here, which is right here. And all it simply does is returns the location helper's closest location. Now, of course, behind the scenes, some things happened when this is built out. So we create a private variable here called locations helper. This does, again, a number of things behind the scenes. One, it gets some providers, but realistically, let's just take a peek at this particular method here. So set the user's location. So first we look to see if they have a cookie. And if they do have a cookie, then we grab that cookie and parse it and do what we need with it. The cookie is set by us on the client side, so we can easily get in and check it for a cached version.
Okay, so drink up. Thanks. So, a couple of questions before we move on. I know you're trying to explain what this code is.
That's all good.
So first, let's back up to something completely different.
Sure.
Yeah, Sirex was talking about like web hosting and how sometimes it gets expensive. So, what is your cheapest go-to option nowadays for web hosting?
Cheapest go-to option for web hosting. So I think with Azure App Services, it's the lowest tier. You can probably get a site for less than $100 a month in the Windows world. In Linux, it's probably less, but to be fair, I don't often use those types of platforms. But yeah, I typically use Azure for most of my hosting nowadays. You can of course put it on any machine that has IIS. And then you need a SQL database. Those are really the two main things. The benefit of the app service is the abstraction and of course, the infrastructure as a service where, Microsoft Azure is taking care of a lot of the hardware and stuff that I just don't want to mess with, right?
Yeah.
So I think you can get in. It's not going to be a blazing fast site at its lowest thing, but you can get in and run a Sitefinity site for probably around $100. But again, it's not going to be the fastest, latest, and greatest, and you might not have load balancing and some of those other features.
Yeah, and it really depends on like what exactly you're wanting to do. I mean, if you have a CMS, then you have a few extra things that you want. But I mean, just straight up a simple site. I mean, there are lots of like even freemium tier options. And if you need SQL Server, then you need a little bit more. So it really comes down to what exactly you're trying to do. So back to your code here. Take me back to the JavaScript file.
Sure.
And what was the API for the HTML5 lookup thing, and how are you using that? When you do an AJAX call, what does that do?
Sure. So actually, so we're not actually going to use the HTML5 lookup functionality. We're actually going to use something that ships with Sitefinity.
Oh, that's right. You have mentioned that you ship it with Sitefinity.
That's okay.
Yep.
That's okay. Yeah, I didn't explicitly mention that again today. So, but yeah, we're going to use something that ships with Sitefinity. So Sitefinity ships with the GeoIP database. So realistically, we just need to figure out the requesting user's IP address. Use that GeoIP database to see where they're requesting or making the request from. So that's what we're going to utilize to do that, and that all happens in another class here, in this locations helper class, and some of this stuff is just here just because I'm messing around with stuff. But this set user's location does most of the work for us, and right here where we get the user's location. So what we try to do is we we get the user's location here. One more. Sorry, I write code. All right, here we go. So this method here basically just kind of parses through all the different availability ways that you could have your IP address come through. So X forwarded for, X forward, all these different versions are different ways that your IP address can be come across. If you're using an F5, a load balancer, app services, localhost, all these different types of things. So now, one thing to keep in mind is this doesn't actually work on localhost, since it's always going to loop back as a 127.0.0.1 localhost. But we can show you how it works elsewhere. I don't know if we'll get to it today, but so basically,
can I ask two questions on that? So where is this database? Is it part of the project?
Yep. So it's part of the Sitefinity project. It lives in app data, geolocation.
Oh, nice.
Here's the MindMax databases.
Good. So it comes with like a bunch of IPs that you can tie to geolocation. Is that accurate somehow?
Say it again. I'm sorry.
Like, does it like associate like IPs with geolocations?
Yeah. So here we're gonna use the request from Sitefinity. And then basically, so the .NET version, so the user making the request, and then from its headers, we then try to retrieve their IP address.
Gotcha.
And again, there's a number of different ways that it can come through, depending on your hosting and other avenues.
Right. So once you're done with that, like, what does the method finally return? Like, in terms of location, is it like lat long, or is it what is it coming back?
Yeah, so this one here, this method here will bring back the IP address. So let's take a step back. So once we have the IP address, we can pass it to the IP service location service get location, and it returns it back a location type. Here we go. It's called the city location, and this is what it has involved in it. So you can get to their city, country, ISO code, region name, latitude, longitude, postal code, or metro code.
Nice, very nice. And if you had to like update Sitefinity, or like if you had to update the database, how would you do that? Or would you like reinstall the next version and it comes with it?
So you can update it on your own. Like you could go in here and add a missing location if you need to. But probably the easiest way is to get the next version of Sitefinity. I think we update it about once a year, sometimes more frequently, but it's usually about once a year.
Sure. Yeah, and Sirax 856, we do hear your Python knowledge. Yeah, Python is great for web stuff, and in fact, if you are doing Python, like your web hosting should be cheaper than many other options.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. All right, let's get that out of the way. Okay, so get the locations to the user, calls the locations helper, then gets its closest location. So what it actually does behind the scenes is call a bunch of those methods to where we can do it. So if the location's null, then we get the location, which we kind of stepped through all that code we just saw. And how does it do it? So we're going to use some Sitefinity stuff. Let me get some things out of the way. All right. Okay. So we have this. So we had to do something a little bit unique for this particular setup. So one thing that we had to do was we have, since we want to use multi-site management in Sitefinity, we have this idea about manager providers, right? These providers actually store our content in separate buckets, right? So Site 1 has their own storage of locations, Site 2 has their own storage of locations, so on and so forth. So what we had to do was we actually had to get locations from all of our providers, as we call them. And so we actually use some methods in Sitefinity to get the listing of providers, and then we actually get all the locations. Here's where we get to use what we call the dynamic module manager. So as we built out our custom content type, in this case locations, we needed a way to get them. So what we're going to do is we're going to loop over each one of the providers and pass it in to the manager so it knows which area to get content from, right? Is it this provider? Is it that provider? Or in my brain, is it this bucket or is it that bucket, right? So this lets us know which site it's coming from. Right here is where we get the data items. The module type is something from Sitefinity. So that's our name that we generated with the module builder. Here we're checking to make sure it's the live version. So we have actually 3 or 4 different statuses of content items in Sitefinity. We have live, which is the version that's published and is live for the site. We also have the master version, which sometimes could be in a different variation or version than the live. We also have the idea of temp, which are, as they sound, temporarily there, for the system. So you may want temp or draft items for other purposes. If somebody saves a draft, grab the draft one, the temporary one, pull it in, let's show it. But in this case, we only want the live ones, meaning they're published and they're viewable to the users, as well as visible. Visible means they're published. So this means they're live and published, okay? And then lastly, we just want to make sure they have an address value, because if they don't have an address value, we can't calculate their address, right? Whatever. All right, so we're just going to double check that. Then we start looping over them, and then we really just pass in what distance unit we're using. So is it kilometers or miles? Sitefinity will calculate it by default in kilometers, but we convert it to miles based on what the user has selected. Then from there, we basically add it to the list after we just assure again that the item is not. We don't need this here. Null. So this method here is really just building a new location and making sure again that something doesn't happen to the address as it builds it out. Let's take a quick look at here. This is really just setting up a specific model to meet whatever I needed to pass along to my view in this case. All right. Let's see. The only other thing that we have to do before I think we build this again is we probably should register our service that we have here, because I don't think we've registered it. So we're gonna need.
So by registering, you mean like with Sitefinity?
Yeah, well, yeah, but more so with routing in this particular case. So we got to register it as a route, so knows what to listen to. So let's do a couple things here. So let's go. So we'll add like a startup kind of class to it. So we can actually register a startup class in a assembly file. So this is an example of one. We're really just going to follow the same example here. But you can register, say, like an installer class or a startup file. Name doesn't matter. It's arbitrary. So that's found in the assemblyinfo.cs. And we'll register this. We'll have to bring in a using.web. This class doesn't exist, so we're going to need to create it.
So what is this assembly info? Like, is it kind of like a global ASX, or is it just a list of like all of the other project assemblies it's meant to pull together?
Yeah, so the assembly info, yeah, it offers just some specific instruction about this assembly itself. And the assembly being, say, that DLL that's produced in the end. So in this case, we're saying here, when the application starts, register this method as a startup type method. And it'll call this, and then we can do some work in it. And so it's going to do on the pre-application start. And okay, so then we're going to register some of our routes, or there was really only one route to register. So here, I'm just going to copy this as is, just the section, and then we'll explain what's going on here. So here, we're going to use the pre-applications. So this is a method that we're going to attach to the bootstrapper. The bootstrapper is a Sitefinity abstraction. This is basically saying, hey, Sitefinity is ready to go, and you can do other work, right? That other work in this case is us wanting to register routes. So
and I'm guessing this is like called every one time the application starts up.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. So just registering. Whoops. Let's see here. Okay, that one's not right. This HTTP mat route, this one always gets me. I forget which assembly it is. So system.web. Okay, I always forget which one it's in. All right. It's actually in HTTP. All right, what else you can let about? Still doesn't want to find it. What else? Got all the same. Okay, pretty sure I'm missing a NuGet packet, but I gotta remember which one it is. Alright, I'm just taking a peek at the packages config of another one where I know this particular component is working. And I'm just double checking to see if there's anything else. So it's probably one of these up here, ASP MVC or Razor. So we can compare it to our packages config. Let's see what we got. Razor, Web API client, core. This one here is probably the one. Okay, we're going to look for this one here. I'll show you in just a second which one it is. I copied it from the other screen. So we're looking for Microsoft.ASP.WebAPI.WebHost. So let's see if this should be installed on the other package. So I typed it in here, and I search under installed first because I want to try to install the same version of the package whenever possible. If I accidentally installed a different version, I'll get into a hot DLL hell mess, and you'll never want to talk to me again. So I always try to go here first. If it's not installed anywhere, then by all means install whichever version you think is appropriate. So this one is using 5.2.3, so let's make sure we target 5.2.3, and let's go ahead and install. And I believe that should fix that last issue there. Okay.
While you're doing this, BEQ09, thank you for the follow. We appreciate all of you. Yes, hydrate.
Ooh, good point. Oh, don't drink the candle wax. Grab the right cup. All right. Okay, cool. So basically all this does here is registers a method on the pre-application start. So the assembly here is telling it to execute the pre-application start method when the application starts. Does that make sense? So this is just telling the assembly that this is really the message or the method that should trigger when the application starts. And then once we do that, we're going to register a route. We're going to call it locations, and then we're going to give it this address. All right. And then that's what I can call for my JavaScript. I guess let's go ahead and try to build it, and let's see how we did here. If it builds, then we'll try to reload the front end and see how we did. We got about 35 minutes for our usual time here that we take. So, ooh, it built. Woohoo. Okay, let's see. Get that one out of the way. Let's go here and let's reload. Cross our fingers. right, our beautiful loading gears. And we will see how this goes. Well, we apparently still have an error, which stinks. So I guess we're going to have to go back to that and see what's going on here. So let's see. All right, so something did load, and let's see if it's the same error. Okay, method not found. System.string.
Do you have to give it another reboot type thing to just launch from Visual Studio? Which I think you did, but maybe do a full rebuild.
Closest index, but yeah, all right, let me try one other thing, and then I'll do that. All right, so we're still having an error with our widget here, so for giggles, let's just delete it. So I deleted it, republished the page, or a page template in this particular case, and let's see if we add it back on there, if we get the same issue. Okay, so far so good. Well, I think so far so good. There shouldn't be. Oh, you know what's going to happen? Even if we get rid of the error, we did forget one portion of it, but let's see if we at least got rid of the error. We forgot to implement the rest of our JavaScript, but we'll do that in a second.
I was also curious, like, how does Sitefinity handle the local host IP coming and checking it against the database?
Yeah, so in this case, it'll report me back as 127.0.0.1 and basically say you can't be found.
Yeah.
So in order for me to get this to work or to check internally, either I have to route the request out of my house and back into it, or you can use something like I can't think of the name of the tool, like Injex, to kind of spoof your location
Right.
if need be.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, what is going on here? Dum. Okay. Let me just check a few other things here. Resource. Embedded resource. I'm just checking to make sure all my resources are embedded. All right. All right, we'll get this figured out. It's probably something nice and simple and silly, I'm sure.
What JavaScript did you not finish?
Yeah, we could do that too. But that's definitely not what's causing the issue.
Okay.
So Give me a second. I'm going to check one other thing here. All right. Just make sure all my name. Well, it's finding the view. It's just not executing something on it, which is very, very strange. Okay, we got a model. Lane.locations.mbc.models. Location. All right. Oh, you know what it is. It's probably this method right down here because this doesn't exist, and that's what I didn't finish out. So although I told you it probably doesn't affect it, it probably really is. So let me finish this out, and then we'll double check that. So. Okay, so we're finishing out a couple things here. Let me get another style sheet in here real quick. I think I got some styles to make sure to get in there. So this style sheet is for an open source platform called Open Layers. We'll need it in a little bit, but we don't need it right this second. But it's to display some map features that we'll use. So
we'll
get that in there. Okay.
Open Layers.
Open. Yeah. Open. Here, I'll pull it up. So it's called.
Interesting. I'm looking at this.
Yeah, it's called Open Layers here. So it's an open source one. That's. I guess they moved some stuff, so let's just grab one here real quick. Okay, so it's just a pretty simple map, but it's just as good as, at least in my opinion, as Google. And it's definitely open source. I know Google's had some things where the licensing model has changed in the recent years. So yeah, check this one out. It's pretty good. I've used it for a couple things, and it's been pretty good. All right. So a couple things is I've added these two embedded resources here, but we need a way to pull them in Sitefinity. So that's where this URL embedded resource component has. And then we're going to add, this is the kind of thing that's a little bit unique to Sitefinity, is you just have to add a simple class in here to register it. Whoops, wrong one. Copy the right thing here. So I have this class called reference class, and all it really does is just initialize. And this is just this isn't a technique that comes from .NET, and I don't have an explanation for it. It's just the way these embedded resources work. But all you have to do is simply have a class that's self-instantiating, and that's all it needs to do. And then we can use these components like corianderlane.locations, .resources, .reference, and then scripts, and then here's my actual script. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to embed it's going to embed those resources as part of the assembly, and then be able to pull them via this resource package. Actually, now that I remember, I think there's one other thing I have to add to the assembly binding, or to the assembly file. So let's look at that. All right, let's see here. Okay, well, we do also have to register them in the assembly info, so let's do a couple of these. All right, so let's put these down here. So we gotta register these web resources. And we'll do the style sheet is okay. All right, I'm gonna build one more time, and let's see if this does it. All right, we built, and let's get out of there. All right, let's see how this goes. All right, loading. Fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shaking my camera, sorry. As I tap my table. All right, here we go. Okay, well, we still got an error. That's whatever, but let's see. See if we got any other console errors or anything else. Okay, so nothing in the console. Let's make sure we've cleared all our caches out of there. Save icon, that's fine. That makes sense. All those make sense. Well, bah humbug. Let's see if it's the same error. It is. Okay, well.
It's Monday.
I know, right? Well, we can at least, suppose we can identify if it is that. Maybe I'm missing an additional... So we don't have IntelliSense. I mean, this is usual because we're in a separate class library.
Yeah.
But we could set it up really quick. This will at least help us. Mostly because I just don't remember how to do this part. Alright, so here's how we can do IntelliSense. Okay. Close all the currently open CSLs, open the context menu in the class files, click on properties, set the output path to the bin. Okay, so step 1, output path bin. Okay, save that. Okay, alright. Create a web config in the root. Okay. Web.config. Really? What, just config? No? Okay. Let's do it like this. Okay. Web.config. Okay, so we added a web config. I hate when it's capitalized. Okay, and then it says to paste in some stuff that looks kind of like this. All right, so again, we're just trying to get IntelliSense to show up just to make our lives hopefully a little bit easier. All right, so we did that, and now what does it tell us to do? Clean and build the solution. Okay, sure will. Clean. And build. All right, we'll see if this helps us at least visually try to identify a couple things through Visual Studio and what might be going on here. Until it's done building.
Do we have documentation on the assembly info stuff, like how to register certain things?
Yeah. So the things for Sitefinity are the things like the controller container. This was actually outlined right here, and I happened to miss a couple shows ago. But yeah, this should all be outlined in the documentation. So here's how to put the assemblies in a separate binding, and how to build embedded resources are also outlined in the docs as well.
Cool.
All right, so let's see if that gave us any IntelliSense here. It's looking better already, and not really. Oh, there we go. Okay. Now, what's it saying here? Reference to iHTML string claims it is defined in the system by web, but could not be defined. I bet you this is our problem then. But no, okay. So interesting. All right. Helps if I can type. I mean, to the project? It should already be there. That's crazy talk. It's crazy talk.
You know what you need to do, though? Not use Google and use Bing.
Ooh. Ouch. It's already there.
I may be one of the most loyal Bing users outside of Microsoft.
This person says that every little Visual Studio, per usual, right?
When nothing else works, just reload Visual Studio. And then reload Windows.
You know what? I'm going to take their advice. I'm going to take their advice. Alright. Although I'm not sure why that would affect runtime, but... Alright. And just for super giggles, let's delete all the bin folders and object folders. Just make sure there's nothing hanging out that shouldn't be. It's safe to do this. Don't worry. Or at least it's safe in Sitefinity. Other projects don't count me in for knowing.
Hey, for the most part, if you're a .NET, ASP.NET based project, you should be fine because it rebuilds every time. But if you have any other custom stuff, I don't know.
It used to be many moons ago. The way that Sitefinity worked was you couldn't do a clean or a rebuild or any of those things. So if anybody on the line's been around for a while, you probably remember those days. All right, we're going to build one more time. We're going to see how this works, and we'll go from there. Build, good. All right, 10 seconds or so. Well, if this actually, let me do one other thing while we're waiting on that. We can actually try. We can see if our service even is. We can try one other thing that I can work on the widget later. We can at least see if our service registered correctly, and we can make a call to it. So we can try some of those things also. So still, it's got an error, man. Something. I'll let you guys know next week what happened there. Let me try to see if we can at least hit our address. So I'm going to use Postman. If you guys are familiar with it, it's a great tool for testing APIs, building out test cases, mocking. I mean, you can do a bunch of stuff. I only scratch it at its surface. So we're going to hit off localhost here / locations -API, and I forget the URL, so let me go find it.
So while you're doing this, like I'm also a big fan of Postman. This, by the way, is from Google. But if you are in the space of trying to find out what goes on under your network stack, a lot of people really also appreciate Fiddler, which is something we have had for a long time. But what's new is kind of the rebirth of Fiddler. It's now Fiddler everywhere, so it runs on Mac and Windows and Unix and Linux, and it's beautiful.
Nice. All right. So, I know why. Let's try. All right, I'm going to add a few headers in here, like accept. We'll go application JSON, content type, application JSON. All right. Still not found. So I'm gonna guess it's obviously not registering correctly. Do we have any? Let's double check. Did we have any parameters on it? Oops, wrong one. Sorry, this one. So no parameters. Okay, and we're doing a get. Passing in some headers. No parameters. Nothing in the body. Just try it under HTTPS real quick. Yeah.
So if the you do have it hosted right now in IIS. The reason that this is not working is because it's just not probably registered to return the way you were thinking.
Yeah, it seems like the route itself isn't registered currently. So in this class here, and we can check this too in a second, it should be registering the route, based on the controller name, action, and ID there. But yeah, it doesn't appear to be registering correctly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me just double check our references here. Okay, that's fine. Boy. Try one more here. Yeah, they're all four. Yeah, so there's something still not right about this project and getting something registered here. The route's registered. Sorry, I'm just looking at this packages just to see what else might be going on here. This one's got me baffled.
And you have the JSON serializers in place, right? The Newtonsoft thing.
So Newtonsoft should be in here, but yeah, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Well, I suspect it's probably all stemming from the one, whatever this one issue is we have here.
Yeah, the get message error that you had initially.
Yeah, we gotta figure this out. All right. Well,
this could be like a learning curve. Like you try to figure it out and then tell us exactly what it was.
I think I'm gonna have to. So maybe it's a good breaking point for today. Although I don't feel like I accomplished all that much, but
well, I mean, this is the reality. The struggles that we sometimes go through to make code work is worth it. Yeah, and as a developer, like I would much rather take this where we are struggling to make something work as compared to not knowing how something is working, which happens quite a bit.
Right, for sure. Get it. So yeah, let's sign off here for today.
Yeah.
And then we will actually side note, Sam, I forgot to tell you something. For next week, I'm actually going to be out of the office. I will be camping. I forgot to tell you that.
Nice.
So we're going to skip next Monday, and we'll reconvene on the 10th. How about that?
Sure. No worries. Yeah, and we'll pick it up exactly from where we left off here, so you tell us.
Yep. That's no
exactly
problem.
how things were.
Yeah,
all right,
no problem
I'm going to throw in some chickens here because that's what a lot of what we do here on the stream. We try to have fun with technology, so come and join us whenever you have time. And I'm going to be on tomorrow. We are building a VR world for a conference using Unity.
Nice.
So that should be fun. And then so we love you all. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we shall see you next time. All right, Jonathan.
Thanks, everyone.
I appreciate your time. We shall talk next time.
Bye.